fighter jets screaming across the sky, a volleyball game that became iconic, a soundtrack that defined a generation. In 1986, Top Gun didn't just launch Tom Cruise into superstardom, it changed how Hollywood made action films and how America saw its military. The film looked effortless, but the reality behind the cameras was anything but. These are 20 shocking behind-the-scenes secrets from Top Gun. Number 20. The Navy saw it as a recruitment opportunity. The U.S. Navy didn't just cooperate with the Top Gun production. They actively embraced it as a massive recruitment tool. They understood the film would make naval aviation look exciting and glamorous. And they were right. The Navy provided unprecedented access to aircraft, aircraft carriers, and military installations. They assigned technical advisors to ensure accuracy and allowed the production to film aboard the USS Enterprise. This level of cooperation was unusual, but the Navy recognized the potential payoff. After Top Gun's release, Navy recruitment offices reported significant increases in applications. Young people who'd just seen the film walked into recruitment centers wanting to become pilots. The spike was dramatic and sustained, lasting well beyond the film's initial theatrical run. The Navy set up recruitment tables in theater lobbies during the film's opening weekend. They knew their target audience would be sitting in those theaters, and they capitalized on the moment. It was one of the most successful military recruitment campaigns in history, and it didn't cost the Navy a single advertising dollar. Number 19. Tom Cruise wasn't the first choice for Maverick. Tom Cruise became synonymous with Maverick, but he wasn't the original choice for the role. Several other actors were considered first, including Matthew Modine, who turned down the part. Modine declined because he was opposed to the film's pro-military stance. He didn't want to make what he saw as a recruitment film for the armed forces. He chose to make Full Metal Jacket instead, taking a much more critical view of military culture. Other actors who were considered or turned down the role included John Cusack, Emilio Estevez, and Nicolas Cage. Each had their reasons for passing, and each probably regretted it later, when they saw what the film did for Cruise's career. Cruise was 23 when he was cast and still building his reputation. He'd been in Risky Business and a few other films, but Top Gun made him a genuine movie star. The role required charisma, physicality, and the ability to make Maverick's cockiness charming rather than obnoxious. Cruise delivered all of that. Number 18. The actors had to endure real flight training. The actors playing pilots weren't just sitting in cockpits on a soundstage. They flew in real F-14 Tomcats as passengers, experiencing actual high-G maneuvers that made many of them violently ill. Tom Cruise and the other actors went through orientation at Naval Air Station Miramar, the real Top Gun school. They learned basic aviation terminology, experienced G-forces in centrifuge training, and flew in the back seats of F-14s during actual training flights. The physical demands were brutal. High-G maneuvers put tremendous stress on the body, and most of the actors got sick repeatedly. The production went through countless bags because the actors kept throwing up during flights. Some actors lost significant weight because they couldn't keep food down during the weeks of flight training. The footage of actors in cockpits during flight scenes is real. Those aren't Hollywood special effects making their faces contort and their bodies strain against G-forces. They're actually experiencing those forces, and their physical reactions are genuine. The sweat, the labored breathing, the way their faces pull back, all of that is real. Director Tony Scott wanted authenticity, and he got it. The actors look like they're actually flying because they were actually flying. You can't fake those physical responses in a way that looks convincing on camera. Number 17. Kelly McGillis was taller than Tom Cruise. Kelly McGillis, who played Charlie, the astrophysicist and love interest, stood about an inch taller than Tom Cruise. The production had to use various tricks to minimize the height difference. In many scenes, Cruise stood on boxes or small platforms to appear taller. Camera angles were carefully chosen to avoid emphasizing the height disparity. McGillis sometimes stood in slightly lower positions, or the camera was positioned to shoot from below Cruise's eyeline. The famous kiss scene in Charlie's apartment required particular staging. The actors were positioned so their height difference wouldn't be obvious when they came together. The backlighting and the way the scene was shot helped disguise the reality that McGillis was looking slightly down at Cruise. Hollywood has a long history of making male actors appear taller than they are, and Top Gun employed many standard techniques. The height difference was never discussed publicly during the film's release, and most audiences never noticed. Number 16. The volleyball scene. Took a whole day to film. The beach volleyball scene became one of the most memorable moments in the film, a showcase of athleticism and camaraderie that also served as subtle homoeroticism that audiences responded to. The scene was filmed over an entire day at a beach near San Diego. The actors played volleyball for hours, while Tony Scott shot from multiple angles, getting every possible shot he might need for editing. The men were oiled up to make their muscles more defined on camera, a standard practice for shirtless scenes. The scene wasn't originally intended to be as prominent in the film. In the script, it was a brief moment of recreation. But during editing, the energy and playfulness of the footage made it irresistible. The scene was extended, set to Kenny Loggins playing with the boys, and became an iconic sequence. The homoeroticism of the scene, whether intentional or not, has been discussed and analyzed for decades. A bunch of extremely fit men, shirtless and oiled, playing volleyball in slow motion, while a song about playing with the boys plays. The subtext became text, and the scene took on meanings the filmmakers may not have consciously intended. Number 15. Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise didn't get along. Val Kilmer played Iceman, Maverick's rival and eventually his ally. The tension between their characters on screen was helped by the fact that Kilmer and Cruise didn't particularly like each other during production. Kilmer had a reputation for being difficult on set. He took his work seriously, perhaps too seriously, and he clashed with the production's approach. He felt Top Gun was superficial and wasn't interested in the deeper aspects of military life and the psychology of combat pilots. Cruise was more enthusiastic about the project and more willing to embrace its commercial entertainment goals. The difference in their attitudes created friction. They were professional enough to do their jobs, but they weren't hanging out between takes. The rivalry between Maverick and Iceman works partly because you can sense real tension between the actors. They're not pretending to dislike each other. They're channeling actual feelings into their performances. The competitive energy is authentic. Years later, both actors acknowledged the tension, but downplayed it. They've each said in interviews that they respected each other's work, even if they didn't become friends. When they reunited for Top Gun, Maverick decades later, the relationship was reportedly much warmer. Number 14. The Danger Zone song almost didn't happen. Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone became inseparable from Top Gun, but it almost didn't make it into the film. The song was written at the last minute when another artist's track fell through. The filmmakers originally wanted a song from a major rock band. Several bands were approached, but deals fell apart for various reasons. With time running out, someone suggested Kenny Loggins, who'd had success with movie soundtracks before, including Footloose. Loggins was given only a few days to write and record something. He worked with Giorgio Moroder, who'd written the film's score, and they crafted Danger Zone specifically to match the film's opening sequence. The urgent, driving energy of the song perfectly captured the adrenaline of carrier operations. The song was recorded quickly and delivered just in time for the film's final sound mix. It was used in the opening credits sequence showing F-14s launching from an aircraft carrier, and it immediately became iconic. The song and the visuals locked together in a way that felt inevitable, like they'd always been meant for each other. Danger Zone went to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of Loggins' biggest hits. The song revitalized his career and became permanently associated with the film. It's almost impossible to hear those opening synth notes without thinking of fighter jets. Number 13. Real Navy pilots flew the aircraft in most scenes. The aerial footage in Top Gun is real, not created with models or special effects. Real Navy pilots flew the F-14 Tomcats during actual missions, with camera operators and other aircraft filming them. The production couldn't have civilian pilots flying military aircraft, so they worked with the Navy to choreograph flight sequences. Navy pilots would perform maneuvers while camera ships captured the action. This required extensive coordination and planning. The footage looks spectacular because it's genuine. The planes move through the sky with the weight and physics of real aircraft, not the weightless perfection of special effects. The cameras shake and vibrate with the force of flight. The sun flares and atmospheric conditions are real. Some of the aerial combat sequences used multiple camera ships filming simultaneously to capture different angles of the same maneuver. The footage was then edited together to create the impression of dogfights between multiple aircraft. The actors were filmed separately in cockpits, with their footage composited with the aerial shots. But the planes themselves, performing those incredible maneuvers, those were real pilots doing real flying. Number 12. Goose's death scene. Made grown men. Maverick's radar intercept officer and best friend is the emotional gut punch of the film. The scene was carefully crafted to be devastating, and it worked almost too well. Anthony Edwards played Goose with warmth and humor, making him the heart of the film. His death during a training accident isn't just a plot point, it's a genuine tragedy that changes the entire tone. The scene where Maverick watches helplessly as Goose ejects and hits the canopy is brutal. Test audiences were emotionally wrecked by the scene. People left theaters in tears. The filmmakers had succeeded in making audiences care about these characters, and Goose's death hurt in a real way. The scene also serves a narrative purpose beyond emotional impact. It gives Maverick real stakes and real trauma. He's no longer just a cocky pilot showing off. He's someone who's lost his best friend and has to figure out how to continue. Edwards and Cruise had developed genuine chemistry, which made the loss more impactful. You believe they're best friends, and you feel the friendship's destruction. The scene at the hospital after the accident, where Goose's wife confronts Maverick, is quietly devastating. Number 11. The aircraft carrier scenes were filmed on the USS Enterprise. The production filmed aboard the USS Enterprise, one of the Navy's largest aircraft carriers. Getting permission to film on an active carrier was a major coup, and it gave the film authenticity that couldn't be replicated on a set. The carrier sequences show the organized chaos of flight operations. Planes landing and launching, deck crews in different colored jerseys performing their specific jobs, the constant noise and danger. These weren't recreations, they were real carrier operations, with cameras capturing them. Filming on the Enterprise presented challenges. The production had to work around the carrier's operational schedule and couldn't interfere with actual Navy business. They filmed during brief windows when aircraft operations allowed for it. The crew and cast experienced what life on a carrier is actually like. The noise is incredible. The jet blast can knock a person over. The landing of a plane on a carrier is a controlled crash that's violent and dangerous. Experiencing it firsthand gave everyone a respect for what carrier personnel do every day. The carrier footage gives Top Gun a sense of scale and reality that elevated it above typical action films. You're not watching a movie set, you're watching the actual US Navy doing what it does. Number 10. Tom Cruise did his own motorcycle riding. Tom Cruise has always preferred to do his own stunts when possible, and Top Gun was no exception. All the motorcycle scenes with Cruise actually riding at high speeds were performed by the actor himself. Cruise rode a Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle in the film, and he did the riding scenes without a stunt double. The sequences where Maverick speeds alongside a runway as jets take off were genuinely dangerous, with Cruise exposed to jet blast and noise while controlling the bike at high speeds. The motorcycle became part of Maverick's character, representing his need for speed and risk even when he's not in a cockpit. The bike scenes let Cruise showcase his physicality and his commitment to doing real action rather than faking it. The motorcycle chase scene where Maverick pursues Charlie through San Diego was filmed on actual streets with real traffic. The production got permits to film in certain areas, but Cruise was genuinely riding through the city, making quick decisions and reacting to his environment. This commitment to practical action became a Cruise trademark in later films. He built his career on doing his own stunts and putting himself in real danger to make the action feel authentic. Number 9. The film cost $15 million and made over $350 million. Top Gun was made for approximately $15 million, a modest budget even by 1986 standards. The film went on to gross over $350 million worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing film of 1986. The return on investment was extraordinary. The film made back its budget many times over and turned everyone involved into hot commodities. Tom Cruise's asking price for subsequent films increased dramatically. Director Tony Scott became one of Hollywood's most sought-after action directors. The film's success wasn't just theatrical. The home video release was huge, the soundtrack sold millions of copies, and merchandising was significant. Top Gun became a cultural phenomenon that generated revenue streams beyond just ticket sales. The relatively low budget meant the filmmakers had to be creative. They couldn't afford elaborate special effects or massive set pieces. They had to rely on real locations, real aircraft, and real flight footage, which ironically made the film more impressive than if they'd had unlimited resources. Number 8. Tony Scott used filters to make the sky more dramatic. Director Tony Scott was a master of visual style, and Top Gun showcased his ability to make everything look heightened and glamorous. He used colored filters and specific lighting techniques to make the sky and the aircraft look more dramatic. Scott would shoot during golden hour, the time just after sunrise, or before sunset, when the light is warm and flattering. He'd use orange and blue filters to enhance the sky's colors and create visual contrast. The result was a look that was more vivid and saturated than reality. The film's cinematography by Jeffrey Kimball supported Scott's vision. They wanted Top Gun to look like a recruitment poster come to life, with everything polished and heroic. The sky had to be impossibly blue, the sunsets had to be spectacular, and the aircraft had to gleam. This hyper-stylized approach became a Tony Scott signature. His films always looked glossy and slick, with heightened colors and dramatic lighting. Critics sometimes dismissed his work as superficial, but audiences loved the visual excitement. The look of Top Gun influenced action filmmaking for years afterward. The music video aesthetic, the rapid cutting, the saturated colors, all became standard elements of the action genre. Number 7. Meg Ryan had a small role that launched her career. Meg Ryan appeared in Top Gun as Carol, Goose's wife. It was a small supporting role, but it gave Ryan exposure in a major Hollywood film and helped launch her career. Ryan only appears in a few scenes, but she makes them count. Her character's grief when she confronts Maverick at the hospital after Goose's death is powerful. Ryan played the moment with raw emotion that felt genuine and painful. The role showed Ryan could handle dramatic material, which she'd later balance with her gift for romantic comedy. Top Gun came out just as Ryan's career was beginning to take off, and being part of such a successful film raised her profile. Within a few years, Ryan would become one of the biggest romantic comedy stars in Hollywood. But in 1986, she was a young actress, grateful for a small role in a Tom Cruise film. Number 6. The MiG-28 fighter wasn't real. The enemy aircraft in Top Gun is identified as the MiG-28, but that designation doesn't exist. The filmmakers invented it because they couldn't use real Soviet aircraft and didn't want to identify a specific adversary. The aircraft shown as MiGs are actually American F-5 Tiger IIs painted black. Aviation enthusiasts noticed immediately, but general audiences didn't care. The decision kept the film from becoming too political and allowed it to focus on action rather than Cold War geopolitics. Number 5. Tom Cruise lobbied hard for the role. Tom Cruise pursued the role of Maverick aggressively, understanding it could make him a star. He prepared for meetings by researching naval aviation and developing ideas about Maverick's psychology and relationship with his father's legacy. His persistence paid off. The producers cast him, and his instinct was correct. Maverick became iconic, and the role defined Cruise's career, establishing the persona he'd built on for decades. Number 4. The film's success surprised everyone. Nobody expected Top Gun to become a cultural phenomenon. They thought they were making a solid action film, not one of the most successful films of the 1980s. The word of mouth was incredible. The film played for months with repeat viewers. The soundtrack sold millions of copies. The film's tone captured something about Reagan-era America, and Top Gun became more than entertainment. It became a cultural statement. Number 3. The love scene was carefully lit to maintain the PG-13 rating. The love scene between Maverick and Charlie was carefully choreographed to be sexy, without showing too much. The filmmakers wanted a PG-13 rating to maximize the audience. The scene is all silhouettes and shadows, with beautiful blue-toned lighting. The song "Take My Breath Away" by Berlin plays over it, creating one of the most iconic romantic moments in 1980s cinema. The song won the Academy Award for Best Original Song. Number 2. Several actors quit or were fired during production. The demanding nature of the production led to several actors leaving the project. Some couldn't handle the physical demands and the nausea from actual flying. Others washed out during Navy training. The turnover was kept quiet. Most departures were in minor roles, so replacements weren't noticeable. The challenging environment separated those who could handle it from those who couldn't. Number 1. Top Gun changed Tom Cruise's career forever. Before Top Gun, Tom Cruise was a promising young actor. After Top Gun, he was a movie star who could open a film based on his name alone. The role of Maverick became Cruise's template for future characters. Cocky but heroic, rule-breaking but effective, confident yet vulnerable. Top Gun established his brand as an action star who did his own stunts, culminating in the Mission Impossible franchise. The film changed everything for Cruise. Top Gun captured lightning in a bottle. It had the right cast, the right director, the right music, and the right timing. It became more than just a movie about fighter pilots. It became a defining film of the 1980s and a launching pad for one of Hollywood's biggest careers. If you enjoyed these behind-the-scenes secrets from Top Gun, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into classic films. What's your favorite Top Gun moment? Let me know in the comments.